Can we all stand and say pledge allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for attending today. We'll call this meeting to order. We'll have a quorum. Marilyn is off to a granddaughter's wedding, and Dennis is taking torch, which happens to be at 1 o'clock on Thursdays. So he's going to be missing 2 meetings when he goes to the 7 torch meetings. Any questions about the minutes for September 15th, 2022? Consensus to approve them as presented? Yes. Okay. Next item on the agenda is golf operations. Pat.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right, I've just got a few slides today, and I've got my slide person back there, so we're excited. All right, so got a lot of oars in the water this time of year. As you can imagine, it's starting to change from summer to fall, and Todd and his crew are busy, but we also in Golf Ops have a few things going on. So wanted to share this with you. We presented the schedule last meeting, but we've had one event since then, and I wanted to promote or at least mention the 27th annual Octogenarian Tournament. It's on Saturday, October 22nd, playing at Desert Trails. Currently we are sold out, so we have 92 Octogenarian plus playing. Last check, we had 3 that were over 90. So we play 18 holes on a Saturday. It'll be a 12 o'clock shotgun, and then we're going to have dinner the next night on Sunday at Briarwood. So just a refresher, it was about 6 or 7 years ago that Golf Operations got involved in this. We had some residents who were highly involved, and they did a wonderful job running this event, and they got to a point where they said, you know, this is just taking a lot of our time. Any interest in you taking it over? And we said absolutely. So we're excited to see that we get a great turnout for this, and I believe we have one gentleman that has played in it 10 times. So that's pretty impressive in its own right. So Gary, you've got something to look forward to here. Yeah, I do too. I do too. You will. First event of the year was the Bye Bye Bermuda tournament we had on Saturday, September 24th at Trail Ridge. 88 players participated. We had both men and women's flights. You probably would recognize some names up there. A lot of them play quite regularly with us. Sad to say, we had a $5,000 hole-in-one prize. We didn't give it out, so we're still looking for that first one. So one of these days, that'll be the greatest advertisement for it, won't it? So we get a good response. Trail Ridge, and Todd does a wonderful job. It was in great shape, and I got to say that for all 3 courses that are open, Desert Trails, Trail Ridge, and Grandview, they're all in great shape. And we can talk more about that later, but it's just a pleasure to work at a place where those aren't issues. Course conditions are not an issue. All right. Next event is our Turkey Shoot Night Putting Tournament. The way we handle our events, and if you're not getting these entry forms, please let me know. We have a database that we send these out to. We can't send it out to the general population of the rec centers, so we create our own golf-specific database. We have just under 3,000 names on that, anywhere from tournament golfers to some of them are outside players, some of them are interested in merchandise specials or lessons. They've expressed an interest in golf in some form or fashion, and we send this out 6 weeks prior to the event. So this entry form went out Sunday afternoon. We do that by design so that Monday morning we can start receiving the entry forms. And just to let you know, this one's sold out as well. So we limit this to 72 players because it's a night putting tournament. We're doing it over at the Pebblebrook Golf Course practice green. This will be the second year that we have held it over there. And we want to showcase the new 10,000 square foot practice green. And it's just been a great addition. We do dinner, which are food trucks. Typically, this is a couples dominated event. A lot of couples play in this. We do get some men only and lady only teams, but most of them are men and women. And it's a good time had by all. But the thing that we like about it, and the reason for the name, is that everybody that plays in it, we give a turkey to the team, a frozen turkey. And out of that, we get about 15-20% of them donated to the St. Mary's Food Bank. So it's a good thing for us to give back to the community. Here's a slide. I wanted to mention this. We just recently got our 2022-23 call center staff hired. We have a total of 8 part-time employees, and we've expanded the hours to Saturday and Sunday, and we've done this based on the feedback my golf course managers and starters have given us. What we're trying to do here is take the phone responsibility away from the front counter, and this was the most economical way to do it by having 2 staff members answer the phones for 7 golf courses. So as you can see, they work 15 to 18 hours a week on average, and last year's numbers, based on the first 52 days of the golf season, 12,185 calls, and the average number of calls this time period last year was 234. So we'll have some updated numbers next month. Wanted to mention this. I visited with committee member Tom Wogemuth about this. We're very fortunate in this community to have 4 expert rules official, and they're recognized by the USGA. Coming in January is an update on rules for the golf, and it's going to be some changes. And so we are hopefully going to get together and discuss our local rules and then come back to the committee and make some recommendations on what needs to be changed and what can stay the same. So look for some information at the next committee meeting as well. Tom, did you want to add anything on that? Okay.
I mean, until we know what the changes are, the USGA is
Right. All right, Saturday, November 12th, this Green Team First Swing. This is a great program to get our beginner golfers in the community back into the game. This year we have 75 new golfers that live here that have an interest. They've expressed an interest in starting to play golf again. And this is a day of clinics and instruction. And Kathy and Jerry Stevens do a wonderful job putting this together. And we're excited to be part of that. A couple reminders. Group play is a big part of our golf community. We have 63 groups a week that we schedule through golf operations. But during overseed, it becomes a challenge. And to make it fair and equitable to all of our residents, we suspend play for group play in the scheduling process. And we'll start up again towards the end of November. And we'll run a November, December, January schedule. So we're looking forward to that. The only special event that we have during this time period is on a Saturday, which is the octogenarian event. And again, just a reminder, if anybody has some challenges with the lottery system, it is the way we distribute tee times here in Sun City West. It is a lot better than it was 20 years ago, meaning it wasn't that long ago where you had to show up at the golf course and pick a number and then pick a tee time. So from the comfort of your own home, you get to submit a lottery request. And it's either by course or by time, and there is a difference. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Wanted to give a plug to Dave Aaron in the golf lab. He's staying busy, does a lot of club repair, club fitting lessons, and you'll see him over at Grandview. So if you haven't been into the golf lab, you need to. It's like it says up there, it's the golfer's toy store. And then next month, I'd like to be able to present that information to you as well. All right, any questions?
Any questions from the board? Donna?
Yeah, it was well attended by the clubs. We were hoping a little bigger crowd, but it was a good crowd. And I think it's something to build on, and I think it's something that we'd like to continue.
Tom?
Yeah, I got a few things, Pat. On the call center, is it possible that these people could be informed of course conditions and things like that? I know we had some rain and Trail Ridge Driving Range gets shut down regularly when it rains. And if I call the hotline and the people there haven't put an update onto it, you got to call the call center, then they got to transfer you over there.
Absolutely.
If they could be, maybe a board up in there that somebody calls them and says, this is
Absolutely.
what's going on here or that, just to save
So
calls.
they should be getting an update from the golf course itself. Sometimes the range condition has been omitted, and we'll make it an effort to make sure that's taken care of too.
Okay. On the lottery, any chances of being allowed to book 9 holes through the lottery? Right now, you cannot do 9 holes. Is that correct?
That is correct. 9 holes can be played early morning, so that would be one.
But you can't book it through the lottery. Or you can't even book it through tee time, through member tee times. You have to call the course.
No, we've changed that this year. So if you call, and let me back up. When you say tee times, you're talking about online?
Yeah.
That is correct. What we have changed this year is if you call, the old rule or the old process was 3 days in advance for executive, 1 day in advance for the regulation for 9 holes. We wanted to give the golf course final say if that was okay to book. We are now accepting 9-hole play because we have a different rate during prime time now for 9 holes. So we are allowing you to do that at call center. We want to give 18-hole players first chance at the tee sheet, and then whatever's left over that, we can help book 9-hole play.
Well, the 9-hole that I see is in the morning, you have a separate tee time. If you look at the tee sheet at each course, starting at the opening until about, I don't know if it's 8:30 or 9.
It's usually an hour and a half.
Yeah, separate time there. I have some friends that try to book it, and I finally convinced them. I said, go open the tee sheet for that day. Look for the time that's open, because you can find an open time, or if you just got a twosome where you're going to fit a 2 in, and then call the course and book it.
Correct.
And that's working, and maybe that'd be something to explain in your instructions out to all the members.
And let's on that, it's a kind of a global on-off switch, meaning I can't, at least at this point in time, online take these as 9 holes and these as 18. So that's why we have to do it the way we do it. But to your point, once the lottery's run, once we start answering the phone for those days, you can book a 9-hole round of golf. Yes, sir.
Okay. I think an explanation going out
Okay.
in some of your emails would be beneficial to people.
Okay, very good.
And maybe make the suggestion of look at a tee sheet, because there's a lot of information on the tee sheet when you were trying to find a slot.
Yeah, there is. Very good.
On the golf lab, you said something about you're going to have more follow-up on this next month. Is it a report to tell us what the money finances are on this, the equipment? Because he does all equipment sales in Sun City West now.
He does.
I understand, right?
Right. So he's not an employee. He's a third-party contract. So those financials are his. Not going to ask him to divulge that.
Okay.
But he does pay us rent, so we can we can share with you what we take from his, meaning there's not a commission basis. Whatever he sells, he gets, but he does pay us rent. Yes.
So that's all that he pays is rent? coming
Correct.
out. Okay. I think that was it.
Okay. Okay.
Any,
I,
any other questions?
this gentleman, yeah.
Any questions from the audience? Please come up to the microphone, give your name, your rec number. Right there.
Sorry, right here.
Rec number.
My name is Mark Martin, rec number 130408. Very simply, my question, you talked about the call center number of calls. One of the issues I have is I recognize the system, and I'm still precluded from using the automated system. And I feel like I'm being discriminated against. Why am I not allowed to use the automated system?
You can use the lottery, but you can't use.
That, I'm not caught up on.
Right. Right. So the reason behind that is a single booking as on the automated on the system could take a tea time that I could book threesome or a foursome, possibly. And our stance at this point in time is we'd rather have the single join the threesome than a threesome join a single, if that makes sense.
Get into the system 3 days before. Everyone else get in a week before to book a time, make a single 3 days. Many times when I play as a single, I book the day before, night before, and I don't even have access to that. And your operating system, I
Right.
can't call at night and get a tea time. Nobody's there. Nobody's there.
Right.
As a single, I pay the same rec fees as everyone else, and I'm being discriminated against as a single, that I can't go in there. I could, and even, 5 o'clock in the morning, if I wake up, I see there's a 6:30 tea time or something like that. I can't go in there and book it. I got to wait till someone shows up to be able to book it, and that's not fair to me.
Okay, so a limitation in the system. So let me see if we can get that corrected. But
Okay.
that's a third-party provider for us. And
Okay.
at one time, that was a global. It's either on or it's off as a single. I can't pick and choose. And so we chose to keep it off rather than allow singles to fill tea time. So in case in point, 4 singles call in a row. They could book 8 o'clock, 8:07, 8:15, and 8:22. That's if you open that up.
In theory.
And now all I have left is for twosomes and threesomes, and foursomes are being bumped. So
And-
our goal is to maximize that T sheet and fill it up as best we can.
Okay, then I do have another issue, and I didn't realize I had to come up here and sign,
Okay,
or else
sure.
I would
No, we're good.
wait. But why are tea times determined, the starting tea times by the calendar and not sunrise and sunrise? I'll give you a perfect example. Play on Friday, we tee off at 6:30. We teed off to Saturday, we play at 7 o'clock.
It's by month.
Why does it need to be by month? We know exactly when sunrise is, and every year, we could, we talk about revenue.
Right.
Those are 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 tea times you're giving up by not starting October 1st at 6. You could go to almost October, even this morning at 6:30, it was light enough to play.
Right.
So you're giving up 15 days at 6 tea times every day that you're giving up because we go by calendar, even though it's totally light enough to start golf.
So the first of the month, we probably could get a couple extra in, but the other thing that we're fighting is the maintenance side of that, to give the maintenance crew enough time to finish what they need to do before that first golfer goes off.
Okay, on Friday, they had enough time. On Saturday, sunrise was 1 minute later.
Right.
They didn't lose enough time to where it wasn't good enough to start on Friday at that time, but not start on Saturday at that
Right.
time.
And then at the end of the month, they're pushing it big time. So
I'm not saying go the whole month, but
Okay.
it doesn't need to be whole month. You could go to the 15th of the month or
Yeah.
the 10th of the month or
Yeah.
whatever you put in the computer could be whatever the starting
Right.
time is that day.
I think it's always been ease of reference rather than saying Today's the first tee time is 7:07, tomorrow's 7 o'clock.
But that was pre-computer age probably. Now we have
Understand.
computers, we could all look at the tee sheets, we could all see
Understand.
what the starting times are. And every time I read on Facebook is how golf doesn't make enough money and all this stuff. Those are revenues that you're giving up by not starting at 6:30 or 6 o'clock when the time
Absolutely.
calls, or at 7 o'clock.
Something to look at, absolutely.
Thank you.
You bet.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
Okay, thank you.
Lisa?
I'm sorry, Pat, I have a question.
Sure.
I was just thinking while you were discussing that about something Tom had said regarding Dave's golf lab. So he's a contract
He is.
for us, so would that not be information that Pete would have regarding as a 1099? That information? Do we not generate a 1099 at the end of the year? Within your reports?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I think that the information Tom's gonna look for would be in Pete's reports? Sure, okay. Does that work, Tom?
Thank you, Lisa. Any other questions for Pat? Okay, thank you, Pat. We will go on to the next report, 3.02, golf maintenance. Todd?
All right, good afternoon. Just a couple updates today, overseeing water usage and also the Grandview project and how that's coming along. All right, overseeding. As you know, we have Pebblebrook, Echo Mesa, Stardust, and Deer Valley. The first 4 courses are down, and they will open on Tuesday, October 25th, and then that next Thursday, the 27th, we'll close the last 3, Desert Trails, Trail Ridge, and Grandview. And I'd just like to give you just an overseeding overview of how things are going this year. So far, everything looks really good. We got a good catch on the ryegrass this year on the first 4 courses. We had germination in 4 days, and then we were mowing the grass in 8 days, so that was pretty good. A lot of that had to do with the weather. Temperatures were absolutely perfect for the overseeding this year. You know, you get those warm temperatures in the daytime and then it cools off at night, so it just was absolutely perfect. We did have some Pythium out there, which is a fungus. We get that every year. And so it's just a matter of identifying it and then treating it. So we had some over at Echo Mesa and also over at Deer Valley this year. So those areas have been treated and they seem to be in check at this point. Pebblebrook was a few days behind due to weather disturbance that brought some high winds on that Monday after closing. So we decided just to kind of sit back and not seed greens for a couple days and let that pass. We didn't want to have to go through that again where we put the seed on the greens and it all blows off and then we're trying to figure out where's seed and then having to reseed them all over again. So I figured being 2 days behind was better than being 5 or 6 days behind at this point. Opening height of cut on the greens will be at 171 or 11/64. So that's pretty much normal for every year that we open at. And then we'll make several height drops over the next few weeks to get down to the 125 or 1/8 of an inch. And that's usually where we hold for the winter months. After we get through like January, after we've had a couple frosts, we kind of get an idea of what kind of or how much ryegrass we have out there and how healthy it is. So then maybe we'll even drop it a little bit lower than 125. We don't expect any cart path restrictions on opening day, but we do ask everyone to please observe the 90-degree rule and stay on the cart paths as much as possible. Sand and seed mix will be available at the pro shops and throughout the golf course, and then we'll have an empty trash can up there so that the members can go ahead and put their straight sand in those and get rid of that, and then reload with the sand and seed mix for the winter. And again, just a reminder, after opening, repair ball marks, please fill your divots. And then we just talked about staying on the cart paths as much as possible and observing the 90-degree rule. All right, I wanted to give you an update on our water usage, our year-to-date. We're doing pretty good. We've used 3,139 acre feet. And that's for all 7 golf courses. Our budget is 3,347. That puts us 209 acre feet under budget, again, for all 7 golf courses, or 28.85 acre feet per golf course. We still have 780 acre feet remaining for the year, or 111 acre feet per golf course. So we're in pretty good shape this year. We've got some rain that's forecast to move in this weekend, so that'll be nice. We'll be able to shut the water off for a few days, and so that's going to help to this, help for saving a little bit of water. Now that monsoon season's over with, monsoon rainfall totals, we recorded 4.1 inches this year. It's not too bad. It's not quite as good as what we had last year in 21, where we had 5.5. But if you look at 2020, we only had 3/4 of an inch. So we're doing pretty good. And you know, when we receive that rainfall in the summertime, that's what really helps keep our water usage down. You know, we like the water anytime the rainfall anytime we can get it, but especially in the summer months, because we get an inch of rain from a monsoon season, from a monsoon storm, you know, we can keep that water off for 3 or 4 days, and that's a big savings because you're putting a lot of water out at that time of the year anyway. So anytime you can shut those systems down in the summer, that is really a savings. And I know you've seen this chart before, this water usage 15 years. The dark shade indicates years that we are under our conservation allotment. So we've been under our allotment for 9 years in a row, and it looks like we're headed for 10 years. So that's a good thing. And you know, I've told you that I like this slide because I think it really tells a story about all the water conservation projects that we've done over the years. Because there's some years in there where we were under our allotment. If you look at 2013, we only had 3.72 inches of rain that year. So it tells me that we're really doing a good job on water conservation. The projects, the shoreline projects, the upgrades of the irrigation systems and all that, and just being, just aware and training our employees to conserve water as much as possible. So this really tells a story. All right, on to the Grandview Golf Course, the turf reduction irrigation project. If you've played over at Grandview lately, you've noticed on the back 9 some of the dead grass or sprayed out areas. I hate to say dead grass, but the sprayed out areas. These are all the areas that will become desert landscape next year, April of 2023. This one is over on Grandview. It's number 17 on the right-hand side, just coming off the property edge. There's number 16 on the left-hand side, and again on Grandview, left-hand side rough there coming off the wall of Grand Avenue. You know, we talked about putting trees and plants and not putting any trees behind homeowners. And so I think when we put trees out, this picture on the right-hand side, Grandview 17 there, that's a good place where we could put some trees. And I think the homeowners are really going to benefit from that. It kind of filters out the light pollution and also the noise from Grand Avenue. So I think that's going to be a real positive for the homeowners that live over there. And just a couple more areas. This is behind 17 Green, going towards Meeker, over by the hospital. That's a big area. And you know, we're taking out 40 acres of turf over there. A lot of that is coming from these areas of the street fronts and the road crossings, you know, like areas that behind 17. 18T, you can see that goes all the way down Meeker along the sidewalk. I think it has a really good look to it, or will have a really nice look to it when that is all desert landscape, and the contrast between that and the turf areas. Not much has changed on our project timeline. We have a public forum scheduled for next month on the 18th from 2 to 4 here in this room. The back driving range tee, I think I mentioned to you at the last meeting that we're not going to overseed that back tee, that we're going to use that to stage our pipe material over there. Public forum, if needed, in February of 2023. We'll just kind of see what kind of response that we get from the one next month, and if we need to have another one, we'll certainly do that. And then the project kicks off April of 2023 on April 3rd, and then it'll be closed all the way through. And again, we're going to go to the back 9, and then the front 9 will be open with the practice green, chipping facility and driving range and all that. And then in May 29th, we're going to close the whole golf course down, all the practice facilities and the entire golf course. And then we'll finish up the irrigation and turf project, and then we'll overseed, and then we'll open back up after the fall overseeding. And I think that concludes my report. Any questions?
Okay, I'll ask the board first, but I have a comment.
Okay.
I run into Todd the day after your phones went off, said, beware, we've got a huge storm coming in with a lot of wind. And so I asked Todd the next day I saw him, I says, how did you react to that? What happened to our seed? And he says, well, I changed shoes, went right back out the door and started watering. That's the kind of guy we've got. Thanks, Todd.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Any questions for Todd? Any questions from the audience for Todd? Give your name and write down your number.
Hi, my name is Michael Berg, 120549. We always talk about the condition of the golf courses, which obviously makes sense, but I always notice when you come off a tee box, there's a curb, and right when the curb ends, the grass is compacted because so many people use that exact same spot to go out into the fairway. So while you can encourage 90-degree rolls, I don't understand why you can't just put a stake in that one spot that will force people to go around and move that stake periodically to give the grass a chance to grow.
Yeah. Yep, you're right. And we do a little bit of that, probably not enough, but I did talk to staff the other day and I said after we open, we need to really get on the stakes and ropes and really try to direct traffic and try to keep those areas in good shape. So,
Because one time I had suggested that and I was told that the players will take the stake out, which I find hard to believe, but if that was the case,
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
but if that was the case, this is a perfect time to do that now when the PAs are out there. If they see a stake out or whatever, they can just replace it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Reed Anderson, 131-923. Is there any pictures or anything of what this desert landscape is going to be looking like? What are we looking at or what's going to be done there?
You know what, I don't have anything. I think in our plans from the architect, he had some, a plant list of what was going in, but I don't have any pictures of that right now. That wouldn't be hard to get.
Okay.
That's what you'd like to see. Do you live on Grant? Do you? Okay. If I can get your name and your number, I'd be more than happy to send you some pictures or meet with you.
Sure.
Okay.
And what was the other thing? Let's see. Oh, is there access to all this information somewhere that we can get online? Or
This is on YouTube,
Yep.
yes.
oh, it's on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
And your whole meeting's on YouTube then? Is that okay? Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Board docs.
Board docs. Yes.
Hmm?
It's called Board Docs.
Spell that. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
You come up to me afterwards. I'm over here. I'll tell you about board docs, okay? That'll be your best place to get copies.
Are there any other questions from the audience? Thank you, Todd. Next will be 3.03 golf budget expenses, Pete Finelli.
Thank you, Harry. The financials are, for anybody in the audience, you guys actually have the published financials, but as we've talked about at previous committee meetings, it's kind of hard to read, so we present this summary for a little bit easier interpretation. I'm going to actually go to the very end first. The rounds against prior year were 975. We actually have a little higher number against budget. It was like 1,800. That's just how we do the spreads. $1.11 higher on the golf fees per round against prior year. And you'll see in a second that it's a direct byproduct of more guest fees, guest and outside play, as well as rate increases. So these are recorded in millions. I was discussing this with our staff. I may turn this into a little bit easier, but just so everyone interprets it correctly, 6.62 million, of course, is $620,000. So as of August, all of this information is year to date. We are 60,000 ahead of our budget and everything else on the other three categories are right at. Against prior year, the same 60,000, a little bit down on ancillary. That's where cart rentals and range balls are recorded, and right on the money against merchandise and other. So overall, still up 50,000 against prior year. A little bit of deep dive into the biggest component of our revenue streams is green fees and card rentals, discount cards, and you can see that the cards are continuing to be a big draw. This is recorded deferred revenue that comes off of these cards, so every single category but frequent play. As you might expect, and we've talked about this, it was really highlighted quite a bit in FY22 that with the increase of those cards, you are probably starting to see residents, ascertain on their own merit that, hey, I'm going to make golf a priority in my life. I might as well stop paying the resident rate, pay every time I play, and go more to a committed card and discount type environment. So we view that as a very positive long term. I mentioned earlier against prior year, especially outside play guests. And again, the Kachina and the Coyote is an additional green fees in addition to the cards, but don't forget that there is a rate hike in there too. On the expense side, against budget, we are 60,000 ahead on the wage benefit tax, payroll tax line. We have had some recent success in recruitment in the month of August, so some of this gap will likely close up. But we had some deficiencies out of the gate, and but as Todd and Pat have alluded to, I think the course conditions are still looking very good. Favorable in utilities, landscape maintenance. The only deficit is our culprit that we had in the prior year, and it's still continuing. That's oil and gas under supplies, and also fertilizers and things like that. So overall, we are 80,000 favorable through 2 months on the expense side. This is to be expected against prior year. We did institute a wage adjustment in July that gave us a much more competitive environment for recruitment and retention. So the 150,000 expense line there is to be expected. We also did some effort in the benefit line in terms of 401k and also in the recruitment area. So overall expenses are 220,000 higher than prior year, mostly in the labor line. And some notables against prior year, I mentioned one of them already, was gas and oil. Tree trimming isn't really that it's up, it's a lot of times that's a timing thing, and when Todd gets his outside contractors to be able to get out there and do that. So the overall margins out to the right against budget, 60,000 favorable on revenues, 80,000 favorable on expenses. So a nice start against our budget. 50,000 still favorable against prior year. There's the same 220,000 deficit or increased expense against operating expenses. So we are down, but that was an expected environment against prior year. And that's the summary of my presentation.
Any questions for Pete from the board? Any questions for Pete from the audience? Seeing none, thank you, Pete. The next item is new business, and it's the electric golf cart infrastructure study. At our last meeting, we sent it to the board to discuss, to see what the board recommended go on, and they sent it back to the golf committee to form a subcommittee to go forward and see what the costs are, what the relationships would be between gas carts, electric carts, what the cost of changing buildings, et cetera, would be. So to date, I have twisted an arm, and we have a lovely lady to be the chair of the subcommittee. Thank you, Donna. And we asked for a committee member from Budget and Finance, and the Budget and Finance Committee got back to me, and that will be Dave Miller. And then Properties was asked to bring a committee member forward, and that is Marshall Adams. We have got two people that have volunteered from the staff, from operations, to be on the committee, and that's Pat O'Hare and Russ Boston. Russ will understand the building side, the electricity side, and I think he'll be a good addition, and of course, Pat understands the golf side. One other person has come forward from outside our committee to ask to be on it, and this person understands a lot about grants, grant writing, et cetera, and Sharon Heddick asked to be on, and I'm putting her on the committee. I've had one committee member from my deal that went out to all the committee members who wanted to be on the committee. I have one that has responded. Lisa has asked to be on the committee. I would like to put one more from our committee on that committee. So do I have anybody that would like to volunteer? Well, I know somebody out there that does want to, so I will talk to him. Okay, the next thing we should do is talk about some of the things that they're gonna work on. I made a list. Tim handed me about 86 hours of reading, which I'm gonna pass on to you, Donna.
It helps me sleep.
But time-wise, the information on budgets have to be in by the 1st of November, so all the committees can act on them and make their recommendations and vote on it in the committee to bring back to the board for a vote in December at the workshop and then the general meeting. I think that puts this in too much of a crunch, and I think we need to do a better job than try to rush it in a 2-week period of time. So my recommendation is we're gonna take our time, work at this, and maybe have a report come back in December and look at going down the road with it, what we think, what we need, and what we see we still need to do. We've got to look at the cost of updating the facilities, cost of electric carts, how many are needed, how many rounds can a cart make, cost of maintenance on electric carts versus the cost of maintenance and gas on the other side. And so I think that's some of the things that we really need to work on, and I don't think it's going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time. So are there any questions from the board?
I think that's a wise choice, Harry. I think it's wise for us to take some time to look at this. We're going to have enough on our plate, for a year anyway. So, I think that's wise.
Good.
So Mike, I had a question. Pat, when we have our meetings, can we do it at golf ops in the conference room?
I've got some names and numbers already.
Harry, can I just make a comment? It's me over here.
Yeah.
Donna, I'll need an agenda from you. It has to be posted. It is an open meeting. Thank you.
One of the things, so everybody knows on these committee meetings, we are under the Arizona open meeting laws, so people can attend these meetings. They will be open meetings, so they will be scheduled on Sun City West properties. Probably there's a new meeting room where the store used to be. And so just get together with Karen to schedule the meetings in the room. Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of my list there. Donna, you got anything more?
Of what we should cover?
Yeah.
Well, we had talked too about buying the golf cart.
I can't. What's that say?
Use your microphone, please. Just talk to you guys.
I think I had pretty much the same list. I guess we're going to talk about vendors, you know, if we can even find a different vendor that might be more cost effective. How many you want to replace over the year? One question I had too is right now you've got guys that work on gas carts. So we need to find out if they're going to be able to, because working on electric carts is a little bit different. And the electric cost of electricity compared to gas, so a lot of the same things that we already had listed here. But disposal of the batteries, replacement costs compared to the gas carts too.
Got a question from the audience. Sharon? And Sharon sits on the governing board of Sun City West.
Right, thank you. 106-159. Two things that to keep in mind too is, I heard Todd earlier talk about the fact that he also had trucks that we're looking at as electric. I don't know if those are parked at the golf barns or not, but if they are, that piece should also be added in regards to what the costs are, because the charging stations would be, for golf, would be those as well, if they're in that area. I don't know if that fits or not, but I do know that that might be another piece. And if you're looking at infrastructure, we should look at all of it instead of just pieces, so that we look at the whole picture, so that we have some idea. You might not put it all in at one time, but it still needs to be looked at from a larger perspective, the big picture of what it is. And the other part is with the electric, they're also now coming out with solar, both solar golf carts and solar in order to supply it instead of the electricity. So that piece should also be cost evaluated, just so you have the difference between what those items were. As far as the lithium battery goes, there's a company over in the East Valley, I think Pat may know about it. He offered to take anybody on a tour so you could see how they were disposed, what it cost, and those pieces, so I could put that together if you'd like.
Thank you, Sharon. Yes, sir.
I just want to confirm that at this point, this is just the community's house carts being switched over to electric. It has nothing to do with residents, is that correct? Like, no one is asking the residents to eventually go
No,
from gas to
This is
electric?
just from Sun City West Rec Center purposes.
And the second part of this is, have you guys checked with Sun City Grand about their cost of electric, since there are no gas carts there, it's only electric?
Right, and I've also the counter side to that is I've heard that when Portobello started, they started with all electric carts, and you go over there now, it's all gas carts.
No, I wasn't asking. My point is, they would give you an idea of the costs and,
Right,
and the
yeah.
negativities or the positives about replacing batteries.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we will.
Harry, can I ask a question,
Sure.
please? The subcommittee, I realize that this isn't all going to be done in a week or two or a month or whatever, but can you get some feel for when some sort of initial, whether it's just simply a touch point report on progress of the committee or whatever, we just need some sort of a date for a first report of some sort, whether it's a progress report or whatever. Is it December, is it January, is it whenever?
Well, I think I brought up, Donna, we'd look at December for the first report.
Thank you.
Is that what you needed? Okay.
Yes.
the community. So I assume that we are all okay with the policies as written. That's a correct assumption? Okay, that takes care of the policy side of it. Are there any outstanding issues to come forward at this meeting from the board? Patty?
I'm going to discuss the fact of overseating and the men's club, especially the regulation courses, playing on Thursdays. We are at Trail Ridge, the Deer Valley Men's Club, and we are playing on Thursdays, which we did all summer long. And that was the way it was set up because of COVID, and the Golf Council made that decision. So now we're into overseating. We have 3 courses open: Desert Trails, Grandview, and Trail Ridge. I had made the suggestion that maybe Deer Valley could move to Wednesdays with Trail Ridge and have 2 shotguns. So that way there would be more tee times available to the residents and more revenue, since we're always talking about revenue. There's probably nothing we can do for this year because we are only 1 more week at Trail Ridge. But I just wanted to make that clear because we had asked to play at Trail Ridge, but they said, no, we want to keep our tee times. You're welcome to play on Wednesdays after our last tee time.
Patty brings up some good points, but one of the things in the past, the clubs themselves worked out the details of where they would play during closures. Since COVID or so, we've gotten involved in golf ops. What we find is everybody wants to play in the morning, and at times they would alternate tee times, and some like shotguns, some don't, some do double tees, some do single tee starts. We're finding that, and Patty, you could correct me on this, they're protective of their morning tee times, would you say that? The host?
Well, Pebblebrook and Grandview usually play. We used to share the golf course with Pebblebrook, and we would have a double shotgun. 7
Right.
o'clock or 7:30, whatever month it's in, and then have the afternoon shotgun.
Right. But not everybody wants to play in the afternoon, and you want to have some play in the morning. So it's.
You still get 200, you can get 200.
Sure. And as far as losing revenue, I don't see that because we're picking up whatever we lose on Thursday, we're gaining on Wednesday afternoon because the second group's not playing. So rounds on Wednesday have actually been close to the double shotgun, if not exceeded. So it's a trade-off. It's something we can look at and see how we want to handle because we basically want everybody to play nice. But we want to give them the opportunity to pick what they want to do that's best for their membership. Some would like to stay on Wednesdays, but the majority of them have elected to go to Thursday just because they want those morning tee times. So the other factor too is sometimes when we share courses, we actually have to limit the number of players from each club, and there's a waiting list. Going on Thursday, everybody's getting to play. So there's some pluses and minuses to this. Willing to work and see what everybody's direction wants to go. I think it's a great golf council discussion point with the presidents to see what they want to do. And we'll try and take care of everybody as best we can. But from our perspective, it's worked out pretty well. But the morning tee times are going, and that's what they're taking. So I'd like to get some feedback from the golf council and see what they want to do.
But the residents don't get the early tee times on Wednesday and Thursday. They don't get to start till at least 10:30, maybe 11 o'clock.
Are there any other comments from the committee? Al?
I realize that this year might have been a little bit of an oddity thing because we didn't as I understand it, Pat, we didn't do a lot of major things on the 2 golf courses that were closed. On those years, and I'm sure it's probably not going to be that way every year, but could we look ahead and see if we couldn't open those courses a little bit sooner than, October 25th?
I'll have Todd talk on this a little bit, but it wasn't that long ago where Todd and his crew would try and do that, but then it was almost self-defeating because 2 weeks later, they're going to close it for overseeding anyway. Yeah. And so it just gives it that 14-day extra rest so that come around November, December, those courses are in that much better condition. But Todd can talk better on that than I can.
Yeah, I think you're right, Pat. In the past, we used to have have 2 courses closed during the summer for projects, regulation and executive course. And then we'd open them up, and they would be open for a short period of time, whether it's 2 or 3 weeks, and then we'd close right back down again and overseed. So we just decided to just keep them closed through that time period and then reopen after the overseeding. And, this year was kind of unusual with our staff levels. We got a lot of work done at Deer Valley and Echo Mesa, not as much as we normally would. But it's a good thing that we had those golf courses closed because we were using the staff from those 2 courses and moving them around to the open courses to do course setup, whether it was breaking bunkers or changing cups, mowing greens, and those. So that was a real big help this year, having those crews to draw from to do that kind of work. So.
Is the overseeding, is that pretty much dictated by just the time of the year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Even those first courses, with 7 golf courses, we're kind of forced to go a little bit earlier than we'd like to. The idea time would be like the second week of October. That's kind of a perfect time period. But again, with the 7 golf courses, it's kind of tough. So, doing them at, the end of September 29th or 30th, it's kind of stressful on us. We have to put a lot of water out there to keep the ryegrass alive. So, okay, thank you.
Any questions over here or comments? Any more? Is there any questions, comments from the audience on this? I assume that this will probably get to golf council. Okay. I know we got a member of golf council here, so. Okay. Is there any other outstanding issues that need to be addressed? Seeing none, we will go to comments. Comments from the committee. Gary? Donna? Tom? Lisa? No. Al? No. Patty? Todd? Pat?
Sorry, I do have one thing. I'm gonna hand out the revised maintenance schedule for 2023. We found a wrong date on the fall overseeing for 2023. So if I could just pass this out, and then if you have that one that I gave you last time, if you could just throw that away and just replace it with this one, that'd be great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Are there any comments from the audience? Mr. President? Well, with that, I will adjourn the meeting.